Hello, everybody. Once again, I am Liam McCracken Jr., aka Zorbalchan Less Than Guru, and in this episode, I'm going to talk about one of those ripple effects that happens when you change a rule, when you make a house rule. So, last episode, I talked about what I did to help Armor SDC be viable, be wanted, and how I made it so that heavy armor was different than light armor. Otherwise, light armor would be if there was an equivalent of armor rating in SDC, there would not be a reason to pay more money and have more weight to have heavy armor. So I explained everything about that in the last episode. So check that out first, and that will help explain this episode. So in this episode, it's specifically about SDC and spells. So one of those ripple effects happens is because there are a couple of spells and psychic abilities that produce armor, that create armor, and one of them is a very popular armor spell, Armor of Ithan. Armor of Ithan is a armor rating of 18, so already you only need a 19, or you have to have a 19 or 20 to hit, which is better than plate armor, full plate, that is a 17, and by the Palladium rules, it's 200 SDC, and the difference of level is how long it lasts, or if the SDC is completely depleted. 200 is a lot. Plate armor, again, is 160, so you have 40 points. So, all in all, that armor is well worth it, and you can keep casting it. So I had to make the decision, do I want this SDC to act as hit points, or do I want it to act like my new SDC? How do I do this? So what I decided was another thing that I was working on, which will be in a future episode, is I want there to be reasons for casters, whether that's a priest or a mage or a mind mage. I want there to be reasons why they make their effects at different levels, why you might want to choose something at a different level, or that each level means something. It has meaning to advance the level. So what I did is I gave it, instead of the flat 200, I realized in Rifts that it gets, I think it's something, I could be wrong on this, 10 or 20 points per level. So I decided, I could do it, give SDC per level. So I give it 5 SDC per level, and I have it count as heavy armor. So that 10-to-1 ratio of reduction. So 10 points, 11 points, 14 points is going to do 1 point of SDC. So you're still going to get at least 50 points. And if you're only taking 8 and 9, that's not going to do any damage. So you're going to be able to withstand some blows, even at first level, if you happen to get the spell as a wizard. And at third level, which is a third level spell, then you're going to have 15 SDC. So that is going to be nice, but it's not going to be crazy like having 200 SDC that gets mitigated at either the 5 or the 10, or just have this weird rule where Mystic Armor SDC doesn't count as normal SDC. So that is something that I did. Also, there is a psychic ability called Basic Force Field. Basic Force Field is really interesting. My physical book, has it as an armor rating of 8, SDC of 20, and then you can pump extra ISP into it, and it's 1 point of SDC per ISP. So the first base spell is 12 ISP, and you get 20, but that 8 is really low. It's like cloth armor, and the 20 is around cloth armor for a 5th level psychic ability. So I happened to notice when I got the PDF and I was looking at the PDF, in the PDF, it has it as an armor rating of 18 and 20 SDC plus 1 per additional ISP that you pump into the psychic ability. So at some point in time, somebody probably said, hey, this armor rating of 8 is really, really low. And it either was a mistake or they decided to change it and be an 18. Now, my own thoughts on it is it's called Basic Force Field, and there's no Advanced Force Field. So I took that as kind of an interesting thing that I could work with. So for my Basic Force Field, what I have is it's the same thing as it's written in my physical book. AR of 8, so kind of like cloth armor, 20 SDC, and 1 point of SDC uh, per additional ISP that you want to pump into it, and it counts as light armor. It's a basic force field. And then in a couple of levels, I made a new psychic ability called Advanced Force Field. And in that one, I give it the AR of 18, which is the same as the Armor of Ithan. And then I gave it the same 20 base. I increased the ISP cost for it, but the same 20 base SDC and 1 per ISP. So you would start off with 20, you could boost it, you had a nice armor rating of 18, and I made it count as heavy armor. So it's a 1-to-10 ratio. So it showed a basic force field, and then as the character got more advanced and learned advanced force field, it was very equivalent, but still different than Armor of Ithan. And that was something that I really was happy with the end result. Now, for things like your Wall of Stones, 300 SDC, I decided just to leave that. I figure if you're able to cast a big wall of stone with a lot of SDC, it's going to take a lot of sword swings, especially sword swings when you're not including hammers and such, to knock that down. So I just left it at 300, and then depending on if it's, say, a clay, I would use light armor for that. For stone, I would use heavy armor, or my light heavy material rules for the whether it's a 1-to-5 or a 1-to-10 ratio. So that's something that you can also do if you use my SDC for armor. You might want to bring that into doors, which I talked about. Doors, I would use light and other SDC, structural damage capacity objects out there, not just armor, and how I would do it with spells. So having said that, once again, I'm Lumen Crafton Jr., aka Zorvalchan, less than Guru, and until next time, I will catch you later.